I didn't get along with that real good with the sausage. The sausage
That would be
Gamey?
No, it wasn't gamey. It was the spices that they put in it. We had the same kind of sausage on that Air France flight, croissant type deal. I couldn't eat it.
They own it all, so there's
How are the
a lot
bugs?
of extra people out there.
They weren't bad. I killed like 2 mosquitoes. We slept with the windows open and turned the fan. He said, as long as you have that fan on, the mosquito won't bother you.
That's what I was
Mosquitoes are
thinking is
little
laying around trying to sleep and getting eaten alive.
But it's the end of their dry season.
No, they keep working on it every day, but they don't do anything.
Yeah, then they'll need probably a lot of time mowing
I know
it thick.
there's obviously a sewer leak from it.
But I was really
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised with
I
that.
was smelling it when I walk in the morning, and now it's making its way down to Marcia's house. And this isn't dead animals. That's not dead animals. That's been there for 2 weeks. It's a sewer leak. And they're the ones who played with this.
Is Tina still gone? Or what's
Yeah,
his-
she won't be here. We have who we have tonight. Skeleton crew.
They're ready to go?
Yep.
Yep, party time.
Good evening and welcome to the Guthrie Public Schools Board of Education meeting for Monday, October 14th. Please call the roll.
Davis, Gerard,
Yes.
Smedley, Husky,
Here.
Flagg,
Here.
Pearson,
Here.
Schroeder.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. Item number 6, presentation of employees and student of the month with recognition.
Mr. Hancock?
Dr. Simpson, President Schroeder, members of the board. I come to you this month with all of them except for our support from last month, who is still out and unable to be recognized. So whenever they get back, we'll recognize them. Our student of the month, I'm going to be honest, this was a great choice. Whenever I read about the things that she did to be nominated and things like that, protecting a child on the bus, preventing some more words and things that were happening. I'm glad to say that she was recognized, and that's Victoria Tapia. She was recognized or nominated by Mr. J. Benson at the upper elementary school. This is a great choice. I know that we have great students, but I'll just say it was wonderful to hear the things and that she was nominated. Our support employee was nominated by all of Central, but it was led by Elizabeth Renfro and Becca Krieg. Mark Bronk. Mark worked tirelessly to get their heat and air under control, fix the leaks. Matter of fact, that's how we got him there. We said there's another leak. He came right to it and he looked up. So you knew that he had been in that building and that classroom quite a bit. So it's good that we were able to recognize Mark. Also with our certified, Mr. Sanders, he was recognized by, or nominated by Mr. Stevens at the high school. Mr. Sanders talking about being in communication with parents, keeping them in the know about their students' work, helping his kids progress in the class and everything like that. So glad to recognize him as well for our certified employee of the month. Any questions?
Very good. Thank you. Item 7, comments to the board by citizens registered to speak.
We have none.
7B, comments to the board by any board members.
I just wanted to say, homecoming was fantastic, and I appreciate every class because they went over and beyond.
And who was in that class?
The old maid here.
Sorry.
That's all right.
No, I agree. Homecoming was great. With that, number 8, superintendent's report.
Yeah, we had a great time at homecoming. It's, no one does homecoming like Guthrie does. And it truly, I say this every year, but it truly, the 2 times that it's my favorite time of the year are homecoming and graduation. Those 2 are, they're what we're all about, because we're about supporting our graduates and our graduates as they come back, too. And so the rest of my report, this Wednesday signals the end of the first 9 weeks of school. Fall break is Thursday and Friday. Parent-teacher conferences began last Thursday and continue tomorrow night. Our October 1st student count was 3,489. It's down 20 students from last year at that time. Unfortunately, I think we'll probably recapture those students throughout the year and then some. And the problem with that is we won't get funding for them because it's our October 1 count. But that's where we are right now. Some good news out of the softball team. The Lady Jays were crowned the regional champion, qualified for the state tournament for the 4th straight year. And they will play Duncan at 10 a.m. on Thursday at the Hall of Fame Stadium on Field 3 in Oklahoma City. And we wish the Lady Jays well. The volleyball team is, as we speak, is right in the middle of their regionals at Carl Albert. And they are getting their first taste of playoff volleyball, too. So a lot of things, good things going on with our kids, and a lot of good things going on in the district. That's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Simpson. Item 9, Crosslink construction update. Lane?
Thank you guys for having me. We continue to make a lot of progress on Colorado Victory. We're really pushing hard to the finish line here the last couple months of the year. Project is doing really, really well. There's a lot of interior finishes going on. So in certain parts of the school, we have ceiling tile in, we have permanent light fixtures installed. First coat of paint is on the walls throughout the whole building. We started flooring in the classroom today. So that was big progress. Most of the cabinets are in, as far as the cubbies and the cabinets in all the classrooms. We have tile is nearly complete. A lot of the walls in the building are tile, so there's a very large amount of tile in the building, and that's going really well. And in the gym, we have all the walls are complete in the gym, so all the acoustical panels are up, the murals painted on the wall, the scoreboards hung up. And we're installing basketball goals this week, and next week we'll start putting down the gym floor. And then as soon as that's done, the bleachers will be in and the gym will be done. So the gym's come along really good. It's almost complete. We just continue to move through the building with the interior finishes. Cabinets, flooring, painting, stuff like that. In the kitchen, we installed the big walk-in freezer. That was a big step this month. And then on the outside of the building, we poured some asphalt paving and some sidewalks around the outside. And we continue with our brick and our heat system, which we hope to be done by the end of the month. So the only bare spots on the outside of the building should be the end of the 2 classroom rooms that are going to be expanded as part of the expansion. That's how we're doing progress. Any questions about site progress?
I will say this: we've transitioned as well with Lane and the Crossland team to also begin talking about the 4 classrooms at Cotterill to build on. And we're in the process of developing a game plan there, as well as the additional 6 classrooms at Charter Oak. And then we actually started some preliminary discussions with our architect as well about the next part of the bond package, which of the next bond package, which would be the wrestling room. So we are moving forward with those discussions and planning. And I think the board also should note, I think I've mentioned this in some committee meetings, but with our architect, we also had a preliminary discussion with ODOT about the traffic and how we would modify Highway 33 potentially for the traffic that would be generated by the new elementary school at that site on the east side of town, just west of Brahms. And so ODOT is aware. They were already aware of that, but they are now aware that it really is going to happen now that we have a funding mechanism with the passage of the bond issue. And we developed some preliminary discussion on that. They are going to build that into their plan, where they're working from Highway 105 interchange with Highway 33 all the way to Pine Street. And so they're going to build that in with that as we see all of the traffic that if you ever go into Brahms, Sonic, Loves, anything where you have to cross over Highway 33 in that corridor in the morning, afternoon, night, evening, mid-morning, anytime. It's a challenge, and so it's on their radar screen as well. And so we're working with Crossland, we're working with ODOT to try and be prepared for all of that. And I know Lane's got some things on the contingency modification that that we'll consider here in a little bit in the business agenda as well.
Any other questions for Lane? If not, thank you for being here. Okay, agenda item number 10, consent agenda, and we have a couple things to pull. We're going to pull H and vote on it separately, and then J2 will be pulled all together.
Yeah, a little explanation for the board. I know you have the agreement between Logan County Soccer Club and Guthrie Public Schools, along with the city of Guthrie. I'm going to ask that we pull that because I've not gotten feedback from the Logan County Soccer Club about that they provide us an agreement, and then we had our attorneys draft the agreement that you have in front of you. I want to at least have some verbal conversation with them to make sure they're okay with it before I ask you guys to approve it. So it's likely that will show up on a future board agenda.
With that, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent agenda, pulling items H and J2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Clag.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, now we'll stay on consent agenda 10, and then we'll go to J2, which is the agreement. No, that's one that's pulled. I'm sorry. We'll go to H, which is the out-of-state trip request.
Okay, on this request, there are, the form that we have is not really set up for a team travel. It's more set up for individual staff members attending a conference. And so when the staff members completed that, it almost looked like we're spending $8,300 per staff member for that, and that's not the case. The total trip with the soccer teams and the coaches is projected to be $8,300. And when you guys approve that, you're not approving the expenditure, you're authorizing the trip to happen with the estimated expenditure, and there's still a check and balance on that with a purchase order that would cover the cost of the travel. And so with that in mind, I would ask that the board approve that with the note, with the understanding and change that is only, that is a total, that's not a cumulative for each of the applications.
I have a question on that. It's about 900 miles to travel to Foley, Alabama, isn't it? And I'm questioning, are they going to use one of our school buses? Are they asking for transportation by that method? Or are they going to charter a bus, or what are we
I
doing?
believe they're going to charter a bus, Ron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was concerning to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to send one of our buses there, because the other part of that is, if the bus has a problem, then we've got to go fix it.
Right.
As well, okay. Or so I'm confident that they're chartering a bus. Okay.
Mr. President, I move we approve the Southern Coast Cup trip by the soccer coaches and students, including all 5 coaches, and listed at approximately $8,730, the most expensive of the request. But include all 5 coaches, not the 3 listed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard,
Yes.
Husky,
Yes.
Flagg,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Schroeder,
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Now to the business agenda. Item 11A, recommendation, consideration, and action upon contingency modification number 6 for Crossland Construction.
Okay. This one is kind of long. There's a lot of little items on here, so I'll try to move through it somewhat quickly. But the total amount that is pulling from the contingency is $89,088. The vast majority of that is this first line item for classroom enhancement RTUs, and it's $56,000. So what we did is there is a change in the type of freon that is allowed to be used in rooftop units. Regulation change, and so all these manufacturers are having to change the way that they produce this equipment, and it would end up costing more money and extend out lead time. So we got an opportunity to go ahead and purchase the 4 additional rooftop units for the classroom expansion at Colorado before they made that change. And so that is a benefit, and that you'll have the same type of system on all your rooftop units for the whole building, instead of having 2 different types of units. And it saved money, and it was going to get them very quickly. So that was kind of a decision that came up, an opportunity that came up really quick, and we put it forward and got it. So it was a really good move. So that was $56,000. The other thing I'll say about that line item is when the change order comes to add on the classrooms, you can reimburse that amount through that change order, because this stuff would come from bond, qualified for bond money, and bond money is going into the classroom. So you're just using some money from the future project, I guess, is what it is. That is the main item. The rest of these are somewhat smaller. So we removed the retaining wall that we determined was not necessary on the west side of the property. That was a $7,500 credit. The grades were just more beneficial than we thought they were going to be initially. Line item number 32 is there was just a slight discrepancy in the way that some of the entrances to the hallways are supposed to be designed, so some extra framing had to be installed to make those work. Items 33 and 34 are the same line item. It's just, again, there's a little conflict between some deck was shown to go right through a steel beam, and so they had to change the way they were routed. So a little bit extra money was added on for that. Line item number 35 is to upgrade studs at Sphinx.
That's 34 on ours, right? Or is the one 30? Oh, maybe I've got it wrong.
I did 2 as well. I did 32.
Okay, that's what was put in mine. Okay. My bad. Guess I can look at this one.
I'm looking at
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
So those are the big drop sinks in the student bathroom, so we put larger studs for those. Just not to be a potential hazard for students to pull themselves out on and maybe fall off the wall, so a little bit more reinforcement behind those. City water line tie-in, that was some work just coordinating with the city to make sure that we tie in the public utilities appropriately. Cotterell signs, so the old Cotterell sign on the old building, we're salvaging that and incorporating it into the new building, so that we talked to that one. This domestic water service, number 38, is also coordination with the city of Guthrie in water line appropriately tied in. Items 39, but we reworked how the storm drainage on the northwest end of the site will work, and it was almost a block. I think the rest was $1 ad, but it's a concrete structure instead of a pipe structure. It'll work better in the future. We added on item number 40 a sidewalk at the detention pond. That's just, there was a little strip of grass between a large detention pond and the building. Built up in concrete. Easier to maintain. Item 41, we changed the color of the floor and the grout on the floor in the bathrooms to make it easier to clean and not look excessive. Item number 42, there's some form being added onto dumpster gates to hide the dumpsters. Item number 43 is adding concrete under the dumpster pad. It's easier to maintain. And then item number 44, so added concrete drive-through utilities have to be installed. So I know there's a lot of items, but those are that's what we have on this one. If you guys have any questions about any of those specific?
Any questions for Lane? Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the contingency modification number 6 for Crossland Construction.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 11B, discussion and possible action regarding the 2024-2025 operating school budget.
Dr. Chappell?
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Simpson, and everyone assembled. I am happy to present our 2024-2025 proposed operating budget. You have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation in front of you. And those that are in the room, you can watch it on the screen. Although it is very tiny, I apologize. I tried to get it larger, but we'll do what we can do. So I'd like to start first with our budget overview. There are people in the room that weren't here last year, and so I'd just like to explain how the district functions. Our operating budget structure is that we receive our budget, which is considered an estimate of needs for the district on what we will need for funding for the next fiscal year, and that is provided to us by our auditors, S&B Accounting, and then it is approved by the Logan County Excise Board. And once we receive approval back from them, we are able to move forward with our operations. Our funding sources, we do have 4 that we operate with, and that is local dollars, which most of that is comprised of our ad valorem collections, which normally we collect in the range of 90 to 96% on those revenues. We also receive funds from state aid from the Department of Education. We have federal revenues that we receive, and then county dollars as well, which includes our mortgage taxes and our 4 meals. Our funding purposes and limitations. There are 7 funds for the district. Most people don't realize that, but we do operate from our general fund, which is our operations account. We have our building fund, child nutrition fund, our insurance fund, gifts, our bond fund, and our sinking fund. Now, there's a caveat to that. We have 7 funds, but for the general fund, most importantly, we cannot carry more than 3 months in our fund balance on hand, and that is mandated by the state. And so Guthrie Public Schools operates with maintaining 1.5 or a month and a half in our fund balance at all times. And there is a state limit for carryover as well at the year end, that you cannot carry over more than 14% in your carryover balance. And so we normally operate between 10 and 12% for the district. The analysis for our fund balance carryover, I will go into that in detail as we move forward. But again, I just mentioned that our trend here at Guthrie has been between 10 and 11% since FY21, very consistently so. Building and child fund analysis, we will move forward, and I will discuss those as we arrive at those slides. So again, this is our 2024 estimate of needs, which is the budget, which is provided by our auditors, as I just mentioned. And in the first column on page 3 of your slides, you can see that we have our general fund. It lists our current year versus our prior year total budget. And so this year, the auditors have estimated $33,021,000 versus our $34,064,000 last year. So that is down $1 million. And as you can see, that is on our miscellaneous revenue estimates. It's down $1.5 million. And that is consistent with our ESSA funds that we will not receive going forward into this new fiscal year. Last year, that dollar amount included $1.4 million for ESSA revenue. And so they have accounted for it. We will not receive that going forward. Now, if we looked at our NAV comprised to compare for this ad valorem tax estimate they have estimated, we should be right at around 8.2 million, and as you can see here on their line, they have 7.5 million estimated. They're always very conservative, which is a good thing, and they always allot 91% to us of the estimate, and we really normally come in around 95 to 96%. That is what they have estimated for this year. In our building fund, we started with a carryover of $606,000 there. Miscellaneous revenue estimates will be $700,000, and that miscellaneous estimate does comprise of red bud funds that I will go into later on, but they have been accounted for here, as well as the ad valorem taxes of $1,073,000. Now we're looking at our NAV and our 5% for our building fund. That number would be right at about 1.1 million. And again, they're giving us 1,073,000. So again, 91%. We get to our child nutrition fund. We have 2.4 million for the budget versus 2.6 million last year. So that is down $182,000. Now, the carryover is down from $882 last year versus this year, and that's for a very good reason, because the Child Nutrition Fund is just like the General Fund, where you can only carry 3 months worth of funds on hand. And so we were over that 3 months allowance, and so that allowed us to buy equipment for child nutrition this past fiscal year to the tune of $125,000, so we were happy with those purchases. Then we have our school-age care fund, which remains the same at $75,619. And then our sinking fund, which is our millage levy at the bottom of the screen, is 17.91. They're estimating for this current year, FY25, versus 15.82 last year. So we have increased that by 2%. And we know that the yield they're estimating the 17.91 based on the yield or the amount of money that we will need to pay our principal and interest on our bonds. So based on our NAV times that 17.91 millage levy, we should be at around $4 million in the sinking fund, and they have estimated 3.9. So again, they're being conservative, but we should be able to cover those.
Reminder to the board that with the passage of the bond issue, we were taking our target to 20 from 17.
Okay, we're on page 4, and I'd like to just give you a pie chart of our revenue sources that I've already mentioned. And so you can see on the left where we were last year versus 2024, 2025, what we're estimating. So for those of you new in the room, if you're looking at the gray, The gray is federal sources, and that normally comprises of 16%, roughly 14% of our revenues. That includes our Title I, and the ESSER funds are also in that portion of the pie. The yellow is our county sources. That is our county formula and our mortgage taxes. That is always consistent, right at about 4% of our revenues. 26% in FY24 was our local sources. That's our ad valorem, our rentals of our property, and our interest. And so that was 26% for FY24. And then the biggest pie of our revenue sources is the blue that you can see was 54%, which again is state aid that we receive. That comprises of most of the dedicated state resources like gross production tax, our motor vehicle collections, school and state aid textbooks, driver's education, our insurance reimbursement, and then our ACE technology, which is provided to us to allow students for testing and curriculum improvements as well. So for FY25, the pie doesn't shift too much on the screen, other than we will have more local control, as we heard, because our NAV did increase, and that's a good thing for the district when the net assessed valuation of our property does increase. That gives us more local dollars, and so if there is a shortfall at the state level, we're able to control our budget a little better. We're on page 5 of your PowerPoint now. So revenue sources by category. Just want to give you a pictorial here as well. Again, we have our 4 categories: state, local, federal, and county dollars. And this is comparing the 3 previous fiscal years. Just a snapshot here. We have starting at, in the gray is 2021, 2022, and 2022, 2023 in the orange, and 2023, 2024 in the blue. So if we're looking at county sources, again, that 4% is always static, as I mentioned. Federal sources, they have fluctuated, as we mentioned, if we have ESSER funds or not, or whatever the case is for that year. Local sources, they have, they're kind of neck and neck right there, just a little difference there. And then state aid is the largest source, again, on the screen, and that fluctuates. There are many factors that determine what our state aid revenues will be, just like our student count, as we just mentioned, and our NAV, and our chargeables, which I will get to briefly. Let's talk about the budget summary for the general fund. On page 6, as of June 30th, 2024, we had a fund balance that held at 10%, and that was $3,355,153, as you see there. So this was a slight decrease of just $2,500 from FY23. I don't think we could get any better than that to come in neck and neck where we left the previous year. So we are definitely happy about that. And why this is so important and why it's good is because when we have to give accountability to the SEC for our ratings, and we have to explain why our fund balance fluctuated up or down, this right here allows us to not have to answer those questions because we're neck and neck, which is good. They're going to be happy to hear that when we try to go out for our next bond sale or what have you. But the good thing about this being stable on our fund balance, it allowed us to do a few things this past fiscal year and going into this year as well that you may not be aware of, but we, with that fund balance, we were able or are able to this year operate with 5 more new teachers for the district. We have 2 new counselors and 3 teachers, and that will help us control our class sizes. We also were able to fund step raises for all of the employees in the district, and so that is always a good thing because 86% of our budget is made up of expenses for our salaries. So we're happy to report we were able to do that. Our initial state aid revenue for FY 24-25 is $51,000 more than we actually collected at the end of 2023-2024. Now, this factor is based upon our weighted average daily membership here for the district, and so we know, I reported last year, that the new formula for state aid is they take the highest weighted DM between the last 2 years, and so coming into this fiscal year, they used our weighted ADM that we left off at the end of last year, and so when we come into December for our midterm adjustment, that will be based on the numbers that we just received October 1 that you heard Dr. Simpson mention, 3,489 students. And so that will be considered as well as students across the whole state and the factor from the State Department of Education. But the good news is, last year at this time, we were not as stable as a state, if you will, than we are right now, because inflation was 8% then, and we were operating and budgeting around that number. And right now, inflation is only 2.5%, which is a good thing, if you will, better than last year. So we're hopeful that our numbers will be good for midterm allocations, which brings me to the next bullet point. Midterm allocations in December are expected to result in an increase in revenue, with our chargeables accounted for due to growth in ad valorem tax and the state aid factor. So again, we will have more local dollars to spend, and that gives us more control over our budget. And because of the increased net assessed valuation, the next bullet there, we did have an increase of 8% in our growth from FY 24 to 25. You can see there $230 million versus $213 million the previous year. And so when the state takes that into account in the formula for Guthrie Public Schools, we will have chargeables right at $6.9 million that will, be held against us. But that is, again, not a bad thing. It's a good thing for us because we want to continue growing in our county and our district. And so the difference between those two numbers, we yielded $17,083,000 more in net assessed valuation from the 2 years. So that's a good thing. Finally, remaining in our general fund will be our ESSER 3 funds. We've been maintaining our district budget with these funds. The good news is we did not use those for operational expenses, if you will, such as salaries. We used those for one-time projects and expenses so that we would not, when this money ran out, have a shortfall internally. And so with that, we have $447,000 remaining in ESSER 3 that we have budgeted for FY 24-25 to spend. And that is just a few items left on the punch list for projects such as HVAC that we did not finish as of June 30th that we're allowed to carry into this year. And we will have those projects completed, as well as some additional technology we will purchase with that $447,000. Let's look at our net assessed valuation over the last 5 years. So we see there in FY 21, we were at $107 million, and we have just continued to steadily grow each and every year. That was an increase at that time of 6.47%, and then we moved into FY 22, and that was 5.3% growth, 9.10% growth in FY 23. FY 24, we were at 9.13%, and we are at 8% growth this year. So the growth continues in Guthrie, and as Dr. Simpson has mentioned in his presentations out into the community, there are numerous homes that are already platted in our school boundary. And then we learned just the other day at the State of the Counties meeting that Guthrie, Logan County, is the 4th largest county that is receiving growth in the state. So we definitely look forward to continued growth going forward, which helps our bonding capacity as well. This is just an overview of our general fund revenues. We definitely like to always look at a 3-year trend analysis. And so on the screen and in your hard copy budget booklet, we're comparing FY 23, 24, and 25. I have highlighted just some yellow categories there because for me, I like to have a threshold of $50,000, whether it fluctuates up or down, that catches my eye. And so ad valorem tax there for FY 24, we can see did increase past our projected $7 million at $7.3 million. So we did have $333,000 more that came in the door for ad valorem. And then you can see the same thing there for 2023 as well. If you were looking at the difference there, at that time it was $379,000. So we're kind of consistent there on the projected and actual on our ad valorem current year collections. And then just jumping down into immediate sources, I'm just touching one in every category of revenue. We did have county board meal increase of $84,588. And just for notation right there, the mortgage tax collection was down as of June 30th of $63,000, just comparing what was projected versus actual. We'd say it was less than the previous year, but there's always a timing difference on when patrons pay their mortgage taxes. Then we move to page 9 of your PowerPoint package. Just to mention there that gross production tax, wow, as you can see right there, the whole state is aware of this and is experiencing this. And we thought we were being very conservative coming into FY 24. We're projecting that the gross production tax will be $825,000 collected. But as you see there, it is only $480,000 actually came through the door. So it's down 42%, and that is the same across the state. And it's still trending down as well. And so for that reason, we are projecting for next year right at around $500,000 for collections on gross production tax. And then we just get down there to our foundation and salary state aid. We can see that we projected 12.5 last year. Actually, 13 million came in, so $500,000 more came in through the door with the adjustment at midterm collections. And we are estimating for FY 25. We're keeping that conservative right there at $12.8 million. As again, I've already mentioned that we know that we will have our chargeables to consider and many other factors such as our weighted ADM and the factor from the state. And so that is where we think we will be at this time in December. Miscellaneous state sources, that was at $71,000. I'm just noting right there that that was due to $92,000 that we did receive funding for our, help me out, Carmen, your $92,000?
School safety.
Thank you, school safety. And we will receive that again this year as well. So we have projected $120,000 on that line for miscellaneous state sources. If we continue on to page 10, there's no highlights there, so that's, a good thing maybe. But just federal sources were down $435,000 overall, and we can see that is due to mostly the CARES Act, which is ESSER, at the top, $394,000. And that just totally makes sense because if we're carrying forward $447,000, $394 of that makes up a portion of that $447,000 that we're going to be allowed to use in this fiscal year. So we get down to the very bottom of this spreadsheet, we can see that projected revenues or collections for the year will be $33.854 million. We have expenditures of $30,450,000, and so we are projecting a fund balance carry of $3.4 million. And this is consistent with what we've done for the last 2 years, and this will be the third year that we are projecting a 10% fund balance carryover. I will note right here before we move forward that $3.4 million may seem like a lot to those that are not handling budget every day, but just know that this district here operates, it takes about $2.7 to $2.8 million monthly to run the district, and so that 3.4 gives us that month and a half that we try to keep in our coffers in case we need it. Okay. We are on page 11 of your PowerPoint, which is our general fund fixed and discretionary costs. And as you can see there, we have our 2024 actual versus our 2025 projected. We had 28.47 that actually came in the door, or not came in the door, I'm sorry, expended for our fixed costs. And then we are estimating or projecting 28.486 for this fiscal year going forward. So we can see on this page the major difference in percentages is our salaries and benefits. Of course, we are moving from 81% to 83%, and I have already discussed the increases there. And that is 93.55% overall of the expenditures for total fixed costs. That number there, that 93%, is based on the total expenditures of $30 million for the district, not just this section here. So if we continue on to the next page, you can see the entire fixed cost analysis there. And we get right there at the bottom of $30,450,000. So that is 93% of that at the top for those fixed costs. And then we have discretionary costs here on this slide, where the district has roughly 6% that we're allowed to spend that is not fixed costs. And we can see there that in 2024, we actually had 9.87% in discretionary expenses. And again, that 2.5 there, last year that budget was 4.1 coming in. That was for technology, custodial, ESSER falls down in there. And so going forward, we only have 1.4 projected for those departmental costs down there. And that puts us back in line where we normally are when we don't have the additional federal funds from ESSER. And so $31.595 million was expended last year, and we're budgeting for $30,450,000 going forward for FY 25. So again, I love graphs, and so I like to show you the fund expenditure analysis, if you will. And this time we're looking at 7 years as opposed to 5. We can see in our general fund, we have gone just up every year in expenditures for very good reasons, due to our growth, due to our staffing increases, due to projects we've done in the district. We can see here for FY23 at $30,463,000. We did increase in FY24 to $31,595,000. And we talked about what those expenses were. The good news is we were able to purchase in this last fiscal year out of the general fund 2 new buses. So you've seen those around town. The staff did throw up coins to decide who would get the new buses, but I do think transportation was happy about that. So always good to be able to provide new things. The next slide on page 14. Now this gives us a synopsis of the revenue versus the expenditures. for 7 years. And so you can see that revenue is in blue, expenditures are in orange, and we have always been able to fund our expenditures. As you can see here, they're kind of very consistent on the stair step going forward. Again, last year, revenue through the door was $34.9 million, and expenditures were $31.5, and so that gives us the $3 million carryover, which is the same thing for every year that you can see expenditures versus revenue.
So your revenue includes the carryover?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's important to know.
Yes, it is. We get to the next page, which is page 15. We have before you our fund carryover analysis. And so that is the difference of the previous slide we just looked at from revenue and expenditures. And you can see we have been fairly consistent there. We only had that one dip in FY22, and that was a timing difference on receiving in one of our federal reimbursements. I know that very well because I had to explain it to the SEC. So FY23, $3.3 million, and again, FY24, $3.3 million, just a difference of $2,500. On page 16, we always like to see our general fund expenditures by function. To see that instruction is the largest expenditure at $18.1 million. And then if we were just looking at numbers in sequence, our second largest expenditure is operation and maintenance and plant of the district at $4 million. But overall, that is still the expenditures that came through the door, $30,456,000. What not came through the door, that is projected to come through next fiscal year, this current fiscal year, $30,450,000. Here is another pie graph that shows that $30,450,000 that we just discussed, and you see instruction is 59%. And then the categories are there as well, with maintenance and operations at 14% being the second highest. Let's talk about the building fund. I'm sorry Mr. Thompson is not here. He would be happy to hear this presentation. The building fund summary. So the building fund is an expense that funds all of our repairs throughout the district and our capital expenditures, to include red bud funds. And for those who do not know what the red bud funds are, this is something that was allocated this past fiscal year to equalize funding for districts all across the state, and to include charter schools so that everyone could improve buildings at their districts. And so they're trying to, equalize the playing field for everyone. And so the district, we received $700,000 for additional aid to help us out. And so that helps us with our construction, repairs, remodeling, and allows us to buy equipment. And the building fund is based on the average daily membership as well, plus a quarter of the prior year's county for meal. We know that the second bullet there, that funds are derived from proceeds by meals for the building fund. And so it also includes the prior year carry forward when we're talking about the building fund. So our auditors have estimated that collections for FY25 for the building fund will be $1,073,954. The FY24-25 carry forward for revenue in the building fund was $606,000, which is an increase of approximately $9,600. Right there, general fund $2,500, building fund $9,600, and so we're being consistent across the board with our revenue. Here is a diagram for the building fund that I just went all the way through. Okay, so if we continue, there is a graph there for building fund carryover analysis as well on page 19 in your packet. We can see we started in FY18 at $773,000, and we kind of dipped down over the years, and now we are trending back up. In FY23, that fund balance carryover was 37%, and this year we are carrying over 20%, and even with that 20%, we were able to get a lot of major projects done in the building fund this year that you all approved. And one we're most proud of is to add more parking lot spaces over at Geraldton for our visiting teams, and so that is exciting for the district this year. And my final slide is on page 20. The County Nutrition Fund balance carryover for 5 years there. We can see in FY20, we were only at $57,000. FY21 rose to 156. FY22, $500,000. FY23, $882,000. And FY24, $758,000. And again, that is down because of the 3-month carryover and the fact that we did buy equipment. And I'll just note they're most proud of equipment purchased this year, and what was requested and needed was the outside freezer at Community High School. And so the project is almost completed, and we are happy about that as well. And with that, Mr. President and board members, that concludes my presentation on our 2024-2025 operations.
Thank you, Dr. Chappell. Any questions? Very thorough. Thank you.
Mr. President, I move we approve the 24-25 operating school budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 11C, recommendation, consideration, action to adopt calendar of regularly scheduled school board meetings for 2025.
Page 132 is this item. We are required to send this to the county clerk prior to December 15th. One thing that I will give you a caveat on with this is if we do need to change a regular board meeting, there is a mechanism to do that, but we want to go ahead and do this in a timely fashion. And obviously, the remainder of this fiscal year is in here, as well as the first half of next fiscal year. We recommend approval.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the calendar of regular scheduled school board meetings for 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 11D, discussion and possible board action to approve 2025 school election resolution.
The election resolution is on pages 133 and 134 of your packet, and we are required to approve this either this month or next month. We chose to put it on this month's agenda. We recommend approval.
Mr. President, I move we approve the 2025 school election resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 11E, recommendation, consideration, action upon antenna license agreement between Guthrie Public Schools and Springs Christian Radio.
It's an item that we had on the agenda last month, and I pulled it because we had not heard from Springs Christian Radio. They have approved it as presented and would recommend approval of the board.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the agreement with the antenna license agreement between Guthrie Public Schools and Springs Christian Radio Incorporated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 11F, recommendation, consideration, and action upon agreement with Laura Carter, DBA Reading for All, LLC.
This is an independent contractor that we are going to fund to improve reading at the Guthrie Upper Elementary School. Will be paid for out of school improvement funds and would recommend approval.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the agreement with Laura Carter, DBA Reading for All, LLC.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 11G, recommendation, consideration, and action upon request from the Guthrie Tennis Booster Club, LLC, to become a sanctioned organization.
This comes to us from the tennis boosters. They would like to be sanctioned outside of the activity fund. It's on pages 145 and 146 of your packet, and would recommend approval.
Mr. President, I move we approve the request from the Guthrie Tennis Booster Club, LLC, to become a sanctioned organization.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item number 12, proposed executive session for the purpose of discussing employment of personnel, FMLA requests, all as set out on the personnel reports, discussion of extra duty assignments for 2024-2025, discussing negotiations concerning employees and representatives of employee groups, disclosure of which information would violate the confidentiality requirements of state and/or federal law, all pursuant to 25 Oklahoma Statute, Section 307B, 1, 2, and 7. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays. Here. It's right here. I had it ready for you.
Bring it close enough. Okay, welcome back. Item 12B, acknowledge board's return to open session. Item C, statement of the minutes of executive session. Only the items in agenda number 12 were discussed in executive session and no votes were taken. This shall constitute the executive session minutes. Item 13, vote on action as set out on the personnel reports.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the personnel reports.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Huskey.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 14, action upon recommendation of extra duty assignment as listed for 2024-2025.
Mr. President, I move we approve the extra duty assignments as listed for 24-25.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Huskey.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 15, recommendation, consideration, action upon approval for Jeremy Davenport to be classified as an adjunct teacher for computer applications at Guthrie High School.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve for Jeremy Davenport to be classified as an adjunct teacher for computer applications at Guthrie High School.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Huskey.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Recommendation, consideration, action upon approval for Stacy Angeles to be classified as an adjunct teacher for English language learners at Charter Oak Elementary School.
Mr. President, I move that we approve Stacy Angeles to be classified as adjunct teacher for English language learners at Charter Oak Elementary School.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 17, memorandum of understanding between Guthrie Public Schools and the Guthrie Association of Classroom Teachers for 2024-2025.
Would recommend that the board approve the memorandum of understanding between the district and the GACT as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Item 18, recommendation, consideration, and action to accept any resignations offered since the posting of the agenda.
We have none.
Item 19, discussion of possible action on new business not known about or could not have been reasonably foreseen at the time of the agenda posting.
We have none.
Item 20, adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Gerard.
Yes.
Husky.
Yes.
Flagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Schroeder.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you all.
Yep. Thank you.